Recall. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hosted Bar. We have been away for a little while, but we are back, and I just noticed my name. And so I am super excited to be here. I'm super excited to be here with Don Mullarney. So, Don, some of our watchers may know you, some of you not, but first of all, what are you drinking? And then who are you? What is it that you now do?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm drinking out of my Irish mug. It has a nice little saying on it with my Irish shirt on, but I have Tullamore whiskey in here, some hot water, lemon, and then I have honey from my friend's honey bee farm, Dancing Bees. Um, and it's a very nice warm cocktail on this rainy day before St. Patty's.
On St. Patrick's Eve.
Yes.
So Don, when I was looking, because Jeff abandoned me on my hosted bar duties, and when I was trying to think if I wanted to keep doing this, I did, and one of the first people I thought of was I need to see if Don will do this for me, because you've recently started your own business, and I want you, but part of what makes you wonderful is also what drove you to start this business. So can you tell us what is it that you now do? Tell us about your new gig.
Yeah. Well, I would say I'm a corporate gal that has been in now 3 different big industries, I feel like, since college. I was in construction, banking, and then IT staffing. Well, through all of that, I built a lot of knowledge, experience, learned that Shy Girl turned into a master connector, I would say. And through all of this, I realized through even this last transition of different strengths and skills that I didn't really realize were really great skills and strengths. And so I decided, why not take the leap? You only live once. Life is too short, and make a difference. And so I started my business, and it's called Unique Connector. And one thing that I'm really passionate about is kind of being that sunlight on others and shining the rays on others and helping them live their life to the fullest and to show up as their best selves. So I'm doing some leadership courses. I'm also doing one-on-one executive kind of coaching. And I also lead a women's organization. So kind of a bunch of different buckets. And I realized too that I love using my voice and talking with people and interviewing them and putting that sunshine on them and helping them being spotlighted and show their greatness to the world. And so, yeah, so I'm honored that you asked me to join. And it's just one thing that I've really realized I love and I miss doing also.
So I am drinking an Irish Mule,
Ooh.
which is whiskey, lime juice, and ginger beer in my cute little mug. So it is, there is definitely whiskey in there. But it's Bushmills that we got when we were in Ireland.
Oof.
Right. So excited for that. And also, because Jeff abandoned me, I am now in charge of technical stuff. So we are learning the new stuff. So as you will see that I've changed some things, but we will get this figured out. So one reason why I like doing this series in this video is I get to ask lots of questions to interesting people and really explore areas about businesses that I don't know much about or I want to know more, right? It lets me have a great excuse for my curiosity. And one reason why I thought of you is because you know lots of interesting people. But other than because you're just an insanely nice person, why would you say yes? What's driving you to want to do a hosted bar series other than an excuse to drink in the afternoon?
Well, Of course, it's you. I always feel like you um, add sunshine that I need for myself. So I appreciate that from you and the raise that you give to me. Also, another thing that was really intriguing for me when you asked me was I realized a lot of my corporate life has been a lot of a suit or fitting in certain situations where, when I was in construction, I wore Doc Martens, khaki pants, kind of, didn't really want to stand out as a girl. And in banking was wearing a lot of suits, but I would always try and bring color or something when I go to events. And I think the one part about it that always maybe has been a piece that's missing through all of my different careers and my journey is showing up as the real Dawn, I think, and I felt like I've kind of put masks on at times of, what how you're supposed to portray yourself when you go to certain events or when you're with wealthy clients or, certain situations. And so for once, I kind of just want to show up as Dawn. And I loved it too that it's hosted bar. Not saying I drink all the time, but I love having a cocktail and I love having conversation. And I think it's fun for me where even before this, I'm like, ooh, what am I going to make? So I think for me, that's a fun thing of how you're different, like a different pizzazz that you're bringing to something in a conversation. And not that it's about all alcohol, it's just about having a conversation over a drink, no matter what you're drinking, and having that curiosity mode to ask questions of people. And I'm all about being curious and exploring new things and learning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's the one thing that we've had hosts drink everything from Scotch neat to uh Culver shakes. In fact, I think that was two guests on the same show that was doing that.
perfect.
I think that was Dan and Tim from LBW Wealth Management.
So,
But
about
yeah, I
right.
think there's something to be said about having just sitting down and having a drink with people and having different opinions and being able to openly ask questions and say, I don't know this, right? Is you don't have the only agenda is I want to know more. I want to hear your story. And that not a leading question, but a opening question.
Yeah, I love that.
Another thing that we were talking earlier is, and you alluded to this just kind of at the beginning, is that you like to spread sunshine. You like to have other people spread sunshine. And I think that's one thing that I always appreciate about how you do it is when you are connecting to someone, you always see the unique thing and you always see what makes them different and special and how you can highlight that in a way. And so can you talk to me a little bit more about, um, how, and not necessarily like, how do you do that, but how you see that action, like what drew you to that, what made you realize, wait a minute, this is a thing, that I do that others don't, and I like it.
Yeah. I say, well, my experience in wealth management, I had a great boss mentor who was always a great guiding light for me. And this is where I even kind of giggle where I'm hanging out with you. My younger self, when I was in wealth management, we worked with a lot of attorneys. And for me, that was overwhelming for me because I'm like, what do I have to bring to the table when this really smart attorney is sitting across from me and they're so intelligent? I don't feel that intelligent. And so one thing Dan taught me was show up as yourself. They're all human. Just show up as you, Dawn. You'll be fine. And I always kind of had that playing in the back of my head. And I just showed up as me. I showed up with kindness. I showed up as we're all human. No matter how smart you are or what you've done, we've all done different things in life. We've all had different experiences. We've all seen different things and, textbooks or certifications or this or that. We're all human. We've all had to the highs and the lows in life. And I think that's how I, took that with a grain of salt where I like, not a grain of salt, but, I put that in my mind where I'm like, show up as yourself, connect with them. They're all human. Be yourself, be vulnerable sometimes because really what you're trying to do is build a relationship with people, build trust. And so ever since then, it's just been kind of a thing that I've done. And during COVID, I think it really opened my eyes even more of I wanted to connect with people. We were all in a weird state. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. And all I knew sometimes in my heart was people needed a connection. And so I kind of went out of my way to connect with people or to check in on people or host an event so they could meet other people and bring some sunshine. And through that, when I had my own health hiccup, and I even remember it to this day, this couch that's pretty much behind the wall back here, I was laying there and trying to heal. And I just created a new Instagram handle and it was called Unique Connector. I'm like, where did that come from? But I knew in my heart that I see the uniqueness in everybody and I love connecting with others. And so it kind of started from that. And also, too, just I think dug deep down to what my values are and just caring and connecting with people and bringing happiness.
Yeah. So I think one of the themes that through that and just talking to you, authenticity and genuineness are words you hear a lot, but you always when you hear it, you're like, yeah, but when you see it, you know it.
Mm,
Right? Like, yeah, oh, the latest buzzword, oh, be authentic, oh, be genuine. And it's one of those that's really easy to say, but for some people it seems hard to do, or like you were saying, you put on mask and you're not sure
mm,
how authentic you can be or how genuine you quote unquote should be.
yeah.
And I think that's one thing that has been exciting to grow into for both of us. Oh, we can be ourselves, which turns out involves whiskey and swearing on
Right.
occasion.
Yeah. The true dawn of, I have a fun side to me too, and we're always up for an adventure. And that's why I think it is fun that we're both having whiskey today and having a conversation. And I think too, to go off another thing is that abundance mindset too,
Yeah.
is that's the one thing I learned that it's not about competitors or, oh, this could be the next sale or, oh, this could help me grow. It's about we're all human and having that connection and seeing what kind of personality they're like or what they love to do, or maybe it's a resource they need and figuring out like, oh my gosh, you got to meet my friend over here because you guys would just get along well. And that's what it's about too, is connection and having that abundance mindset that it's not about competition.
Great. I've that abundance mindset. Like I don't know where the first time I heard it, but I do remember kind of the first time I really started understanding it.
Mhm.
Right? Where you're like, oh, it's not a competition about beating someone else. It's about being your best self. There's enough out there. Right.
Yeah.
And have you read The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek?
I've listened to it virtually. So
Right.
sometimes or auto,
Yeah.
not virtually, but
Yeah.
then I sometimes feel like I didn't read it because I didn't touch it. I don't
Right.
know why, but yes, I've read it. I kind of listened to it.
Right. And so that was one thing that I loved. It kind of it put it into words what I'd been trying to put into words about how it's an infinite game where you have the rules, you know what you're trying to do, but you're not against the others. Um you have others that are running the race with you, right? But it's not about coming in first. It's about coming in your best because there isn't an end game, right? You don't want your business to end. You want your business to continue, even if you aren't in it, because you want to be able to sell it or retire. And so having that idea of longevity and that it's not a end sum game, and having instead of competitors, it was something like friendly it's something like friendly, co-inhabitors, right? You're doing it with, and so you like with other attorneys, I can talk to other law firms and talk about how they're doing and what they're doing differently and say what I'm doing because there's benefits and we're not going to do it the same way. I
Yeah.
promise you that a lot of firms don't want to run the firm the way I do. And I know I don't want to run it the same way they do, but we can have good ideas and we can both be going for very different clients.
Yeah. And you can learn from each other too, you
Right?
know? That's the thing. Learn from each other instead of doing it all alone is the other thing too.
Yeah.
Expand your, horizon on things and make you think a little differently or bring a new perspective in because it's going to help you. And sometimes it almost creates that creative
Yeah.
thought
It
and
was
brews
friendly
that.
rival. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep.
Right. But that's exactly what you're saying. Like you can have them and they're both, you're both striving. They have those creative thoughts that you can work together and be like, oh, they're doing it. So they're crushing it. How do I learn from it instead of how do I pull them back?
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I'm looking forward to doing with this is uh we're going to keep the same format where we have a guest one week and then you and I discuss, okay, what did we learn from that? What did we gain from that in the second one? And I'm really excited to be able to do what you were just saying, where you can explore with these people and have them share what makes them unique, what makes it special, what did they learn, what have they, and share that experience
Yeah.
in a way that we can learn from and gain from and be uh running that there are infinite games along with them.
Yeah. I love that.
um
I'm excited.
yeah, so we have our first guest already booked uh coming up in 2 weeks. Can you tell us a little bit about who's coming and why and what you're looking for when you're asking people to join us? Because what I ask is I just want to find interesting people that don't mind that I swear and drink whiskey, but you're being much more thoughtful.
No, no. And that's where too, I'm like, this is fun because it makes me think a little differently about people too, of just, um, in the past when I was doing a certain podcast, we were looking for certain people. And so the fun part about this is, come on, you can open your whole Rolodex and think about this. And so I asked Amanda Strickland to join us. I met her recently for coffee, and it's so weird how sometimes you can have less than 5-minute conversation with people and you're like, holy cow, have we been friends for years? Or like, I don't know what that is, but somehow I get that sometimes with other people where they're like, oh my God, I just spilled all the beans to you and I just met you. But she was so interesting to me and just had a very similar vibe. She moved here from Alaska before COVID. She kind of had a lot of changes in her life and she started her own business and she hasn't looked back. And I just think it's so amazing. And that's the thing too. Taking this leap, I just want to surround myself with more like-minded, driven people that are ambitious. And, you know, whether or not I'm a resource or helpful, I just get inspired by that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, she's got to be on the show. I think this will be fun and spread some sunshine on her, but also for you to, pick her brain too. I think that's the thing where we can learn from her. And yeah, I'm excited to have her on.
Yeah, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about the difference between us and how you are like this warm ray of sunshine that just is there to kind of brighten the day and warm them up so they want to grow and reach new heights, right? And that's kind of your approach. And I was saying that I'm more of a flashlight that's looking in the dark trying to figure out, okay, I'm lost, I'm not sure where to go, where do I go? And I'm the one that's got the flashlight, like, we can do this, let's figure it out, how about we go here and really hone in. And so I think it's a great combination where you have that broad expanse warmth and I'm like, yeah, but what about this?
Yeah.
Right. And how does that work?
Well, and that's the one thing too, now that I'm in my own space, it's been interesting to see myself too. And like almost like as if I'm like a person behind me watching me. And just even after my coaching calls, realizing the tools in the toolbox that I guess I don't always realize were tools in my toolbox, but to help other people. And one thing that I've been realizing of myself is, and it's kind of a hard, weird thing for me, but I've been kind of calling people out a little bit when during my coaching sessions. And I'm like,
But a good coach should.
yeah. And I've been realizing I just haven't had always that space, maybe, but I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I got this. I know. Like, okay, I'm doing this. So it's been
Right.
kind of fun.
Well, you weren't empowered to do that in your prior things. I think you always had the ability, you just weren't empowered to do, or whether or not they didn't want you to, or you just thought they didn't want to. That was like, well, but that's not what my job is.
Yeah.
And now it is, right? But you're also learning that you can call people out in a loving way, right?
Yeah.
It's not, calling people out isn't, you suck, like, why do you suck?
No.
It's
Yeah.
like, wait, did that sound as good coming out of your mouth as it did in your head, or is that just an excuse?
Yeah. Or you want recognition. You just got recognition. You didn't, like helping them navigate and see the blind spots that they don't see.
Kind of like your thing is saying, watching yourself from behind.
Yeah. So during this whole time of, even while I've been out of corporate, I've been taking a lot of time for myself to learn more about me and
Mhm.
to almost be that, like the blind spots that maybe I haven't seen, or how to better myself, and to take some different chances of things that I've dreamt about. But it's been kind of fun to navigate. It's not always easy, but I'm up for the journey and up for the challenge. So,
And
yeah.
and I'm excited to be able to have you explore that as we're talking to guests, and we can grow with them and with our audience as we're learning all of these things and admitting that we don't know. There's so many podcasts and videos and stuff where the hosts are the experts,
Mhm.
and we're not. We're experts at being curious. We're
Yeah.
experts at recognizing where we need to grow.
Yes.
So
Or things to add to us, because I think, like, I put a quote up one day, someone reminding me this: if we knew everything, then we must be dead.
right? How boring. Oh my gosh, how boring would it be to know everything?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, where sometimes we so focus on the things we don't know instead of, what do I do know? What am I pretty dang good at? And be proud of ourselves. But
Right?
it's sometimes our society doesn't want you to think that way.
Right? Like there's nothing wrong with saying I know this, but also saying I know this much of this,
Mhm.
and I don't know that, and I don't know what comes on. So how do know that I have this solid base? How do I build on that foundation? Right? And so that's what I think is going to be great about this is we both have solid foundations of different sorts that we can kind of build on in different ways and have our guests do the same. So I'm really excited to hear um, as about coming into COVID, starting a new, coming into a new town, a new state, starting a new business, and having a pandemic come down and succeed through that. Like that is believing in yourself, and that is hustle, but in kind of the least slimy way, right? She's, this is not Glenn Ross kind of person in her success.
Mhm. And she's a busy working mom of 3 too. So that's where I was just like, whew, you're doing that all too. And mom, great. Like, that's awesome. And not saying if you didn't have children or not, it's just, it's all these things that we have in life that we sometimes forget that everybody's dealing with. Maybe an
Right.
aging parent, or, you know, all the other factors in life, health issues, whatnot. And so I don't know. That's why I think it's so interesting that we're all made up so differently, but we sometimes forget that.
Yeah. So
We're all like snowflakes in a way.
sorry. I'm very excited to explore that, and we will start that uh in 2 weeks. It will be the first week in April, and so glad that you joined us. I'm looking very forward to this. Thank you so much, Dawn, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Erin. Looking forward to this.